employment through the TVET sector. That will be moderated by Dr. Eusebius Mukuhana. He is the executive director of the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. And we are joined by a team and a group of panelists that will articulate a couple of issues. The major focus of this being really that we need to share our experiences of how we can be able to accelerate and utilize the TVET sector as a foundation for addressing youth employment challenge across the continent. This webinar is part of the webinar series of the triennial conference event that is organized by the RU Forum Secretariat in conjunction with the government of Benin. The physical triennial event will happen in December, but a series of pre-conference events are happening and have been happening since August as runner-up to the actual conference date that will be commencing around 3rd of December in Benin. Today, we delve to have a conversation building up on from program implementation that we have undertaken as the RU Forum Secretariat, funded by the MasterCard Foundation and other partners, to be able and enhance our work in the TVET space. We have been in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation since 2016 through a project called the TagDev program that I coordinate. Today, the processes that we are going to share here are illustrative of the work that we have been doing and undertaking in this program activity. We have in our midst a series of partners from different organizations that will be sharing different experiences and will be joining us and will be available to take in your questions after they have made their presentations. We ask that you will be able to make your contribution through the question and through the question chat session. Where need be, you can be admitted to ask a question directly. We request that you keep your microphone muted. And there is the English language translation. There is a translation services for those that wish to speak and listen in Arabic. You can be able to, if on your screen you are able to see a globe with the word interpretation, you can click on it and then be able to see the choice of the language, either English, French, or Arabic. Those 3 languages are going to be used in this session today. There is English to French, French to English, English to Arabic, and Arabic to English translation that will be happening simultaneously in this meeting. So allow me to sincerely welcome all of you. And I would like to hand over to Francis to take us through some housekeeping issues. And then we can hand over to Dr. Mukuhana to commence with the meeting session. Thank you very much. Francis?
Yes, thank you so much, Anthony. This is set up as a meeting, and as such, you will have your microphone and camera able to work. Yeah, but for avoidance of noise, it would be better that during the time you're not talking, you keep your microphone on mute. And then when you like to speak, it would be better to raise up your hand. When you go to your reactions on the right side below, you will see that reactions button. That icon has got raise hand, like what I've done. So the moderator is able to pick on you. So when you speak, you then mute your microphone. But for those who are speaking, it would be better that you open both your microphone and the camera so people can see you. I think for now, this is what we want to say, but for those who don't, who would prefer another language other than English, if you see down there at the right button, we will see the interpretation. So you can use that to select the language of your choice. For now, we are having two additional languages, Arabic and then French. So we'll be having simultaneous interpretation. So it means that you can also speak any of the three languages if it is your turn to speak. Thank you. Maybe my other colleagues may want to add something. I stop there, Anthony.
Okay, thank you very much, Francis. I think with this, we can hand over to Dr. Muhwana to commence the session so that we keep within the time schedule. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Muhwana.
Okay, thank you, Anthony and Francis. I'm happy greeting you from Naivasha, Kenya. I am happy to be moderating this webinar, and I welcome all the members. I see we are nearly 100 of us. Since we have a lot of speakers, I suggest that you also make use of the chat box so that as you get issues, some of the issues will give you an opportunity to speak. But if you also put them on the chat box, then we'll ask the speakers to respond to them. My name is Juma Muhwana. I'm the Director General of the Kenya National Qualifications Authority in Kenya. I'm in charge of establishing and maintaining of the National Qualifications Framework that we have done for Kenya. I am happy that we are discussing about the youth and employment, and I really want to thank RUFORUM for thinking about this, because youth are a major issue, a major constituency within the African continent. And one of the biggest challenges of our lifetime today is how to provide meaningful employment to young people. And the TVET sector gives us a good opportunity to give youths the skills that they need to function within their countries and even beyond the borders. So I really want to thank RUFORUM for this, addressing this challenge of young people within the continent. Just to put it a little bit more in perspective, we know that in Africa, we've had nearly independence for nearly 60 years. When we started off, we had, as a continent, taking over as African governments. We had the challenge of poverty, the challenge of disease, the challenge of food insecurity. And over time, these issues have remained unresolved. We also do know that the continent has a lot of resources that largely remain unexploited because of a combination of several issues, including issues of technology, issues of skills, to explore the natural resources for the benefit of our people. So today we have a rich array of speakers from different experiences within Africa and beyond, talking about TVET and how TVET could be used to create youth employability. This is a very, very appropriate time to be discussing this kind of topic. And when you think about TVET, we are looking at the whole value chain, from how you develop occupational standards to curriculum development, curriculum delivery, training, accreditation, quality assurance, assessment, certification, and even how you make those skills relevant to the needs of industry. If you look at the TVET ecosystem in Africa, different countries have different challenges. in terms of trying to address the issues of TVET. Infrastructure is a critical one. And the infrastructure, we are talking about infrastructure that is modern, that is current, that is relevant. The issue of trainers and their capabilities, their training, their upgrading, their remedial training, issues of curriculum development and the relevance of that to the industry is very, very important. The issue of equipment in many of our TVET institutions, we are using outdated technology to train young people who then find it difficult to fit in the workplace. And then there's the whole issue of competence-based training. How do we make sure that the training that we give to TVET students really equips them with the necessary skills to function within the entrepreneurial space and also within the workplace? And then there is the whole issue of progression between TVET and other sectors. How do I progress from TVET to university or to other sectors? So really, we have a big array of people that are going to speak today. I am happy to be moderating this webinar, and I look forward to really exciting discussions about this hot topic in Africa. I welcome all of you to participate fully. As I've said, use the chat board to also ask questions, make comments, so that we can move forward. At this point in juncture, then I want to welcome my brother, Professor Adipala Ekwam, the Executive Secretary of RU Forum, to give us opening remarks. Professor Adipala.
Juma, I shall come on behalf of Prof.
Yes, please.
He happens to be in a clinic. He's gone to, I think he has a tooth, but
that is okay.
That is okay. So thank you very much.
We will make you a professor from today, Anthony. So karibu.
Someday I shall change the title to Prof. But thank you very much, colleagues. I welcome all the panelists. I say I welcome Rita, I welcome Hedrina, I welcome Samuel, Richard Hawkins, for whom we have been working for quite a very long time. Prof. Adipala himself would have been very glad to see and be here and participate in person. That said, having heard what Juma has already indicated, the mirror for jobs in Africa is really shining very, very hard. The need for jobs is very urgent. And this is basically an issue that we have to tackle as a continent, because we need 30 million jobs annually by 2030. And in the sub-Saharan Africa region alone, we need about 18 million jobs to be created annually to absorb the new persons joining the labor market. Now, if we look at the current trend, is that we only have about 3 million jobs, formal jobs being created annually. And so that tells you that we really, in the sub-Saharan Africa region, already have a huge job deficit. Now, of all those that are really joining, it's also shown that by between 2010 and 2020, there was only 4% of those that are coming out of school that are able to be absorbed in the labor market. So that really tells us that we really have a huge job challenge. And the biggest huge job challenge here is really the youth. And unless we are able to address this jobs challenge and make the youth more productive and contribute meaningfully to their economies, then the gains and the development gains that we would have achieved over the last decade are themselves at risk. Because a hungry person, a jobless person, is not a person that you are going to say you're going to contain. You need to be able, and as a continent, we need to address the jobs equation. So youth employment challenge is real across the continent, but youth of today are also demanding better jobs. They are demanding for dignified work. They are demanding for work that respects their dignity, that provides them with an aspiration. Youth of today are innovative, but they require spaces to actualize their innovation. Youth of today are the future of today for me, not the future of tomorrow. Tomorrow lies on those that are able to translate the potentials of today into reality. The fathers or our forefathers in other countries of the world that have been able to really demonstrate and make their countries successful are those that have been able to translate the gains of the yesteryears into reality within the context of their time. So as we move towards these development processes, we see the TVET sector as one of those sectors that requires immense support, that requires immense investment, but also that requires a voice. Because for every one graduate that you have at bachelor's level, you need on average at least 8 TVET level people. So we can then be able to say the TVET represents a broader cascade for whom and for which we can be able to amass a number of jobs and employ many young people if we are able to ensure that we can make it more functional and much more attractive to young people. So for today, many of us may be willing and wishing that I have a degree, I have a master's, but then you walk the street and you get a master's in streetology. For what use does it help you to have a master's in streetology if you can be able to take a practical and a skills-based program and training and be able to earn a dignified living because you are a skills-based person? So welcome to this session today. The people that we have as panelists will help us digest all this conversation and help to bring it to reality and see how it is possible for us to work together to ensure that we can be able to utilize the TVET sector to create more jobs for Africa. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony, for that very enlightening introduction. We really thank you for that. And without too much ado, I now want to invite our first speaker. I'll be giving you 20 minutes. I'll remind you when you have 5 minutes to go. So I want to invite Jedida Kendago from MasterCard Foundation to kick us off into this discussion. So I'll give you 20 minutes to make a presentation. I will remind you when you have 5 minutes to go. So without wasting any time, I invite Jedida Kendago to make her presentation.
Dr. Juma, just we switched Jedida with Dr. Hedrina, so Dr. Hedrina starts.
Oh, sorry. So we start with Hedrina to Robo. Okay, because the program I had that. So let's start with Hedrina Dorobo. It is 3:22, so you have 20 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Makwana. It's Hedrina Doroba. But it's a pleasure. May I just acknowledge the delegates that are here with us today, the representatives of government, youth, private sector, development partners, civil society, and academia. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to say good morning, good afternoon to wherever you are. I want to start by just to express how delighted I am to be invited to speak on this very important topic of investing in technical vocational education for addressing youth employment needs in Africa. Let me on the onset just thank Forum for organizing this important but timely event. As we have heard, and I think I saw that even from the adverts before the meeting, Africa is the only region where the youth bulge will continue to grow to the foreseeable future. We all know that 60% of Africa's population is under the age of 25. That makes Africa as the world's youngest continent. The youth represents 34% of the region's total population, and this is expected to rise from 455 million in 2022 to over 845 million in 2050. So the bulging youth population presents a risk on the demographic dividend, but also a threat to social cohesion if no appropriate policies are implemented to harness the dividend. Unfortunately, African economies are not growing to the level of generating enough productive jobs. And I think we've heard this from the speakers that spoke before me. Close to 11 million young Africans join the labor market each year, and yet the continent generates only 3.7 million jobs annually. So there's such a huge gap, and I think we have the responsibility to fill up this gap. Now, given there are far less jobs being created than needed, we've also seen unemployment levels increasing every year, particularly among the youth. We all know that it's estimated about the region has about 10% of the youth that are unemployed, and this accounts for about 60% of all the Africans who are jobless, so to speak. Youth also suffer from underemployment or lack of decent working conditions. Close to 37.6% of the youth are working in very extreme poverty, and another 19.1% remain underutilized. Most of the underemployed and those working in very, very poor, I would say, extremely insecure informal sectors count for about 89% of the total employment in Africa. That should be a concern to everyone. One of the main reasons for the state of this jobless among the youth is, of course, the growing mismatch between the supply and the demand for skills. In most of the African countries, there's an excess supply of skilled workers against the shortage of skilled jobs. And as economies are not creating enough jobs to meet that. Across Africa, different parts of Africa, the industry players are also raising concern about the lack of employable and career-focused skills, particularly within the 21st century. They are looking at 21st century skills, especially among the youth. In many of the African countries, would say we have the leaking pipe. Leaking pipe in the sense that we have many young people that are actually dropping out of primary and secondary school levels. And unfortunately, those that continue, most of them tend not to be learning. And as a result, we end up with youth who are lacking basic foundational skills that would enable them find decent jobs or even become employers or employ themselves. Now, technical and vocational education and training is really widely recognized as having a key role to play in tackling youth unemployment. And I think we heard this from the speakers before me. But TVET orientation towards the world of work and the acquisition of employable skills mean that it is well placed to be able to address the issues of skills mismatch, but also to be able to address the issues of smooth transition from education to employment, mostly for the young people. Recent evidence from developing countries suggests that TVET yields higher returns than either general education or higher education. And we've just heard that, for every graduate you get, you need about 8 technical vocational education, so skilled people. So that just tells you how much this TVET TVET technical vocational education could play in actually addressing the issue of youth unemployment. The diversity and the structure of TVET across the countries also allows for the TVET sector to be able to cater for the youth. Could be those that drop out, it could be those that are in secondary school, it could be about reskilling, including those that are graduates from the university, so that they are able to meet the demand. But what we have seen most recently is that we have a big or a huge number of youth that are in the informal sector who are not well equipped to be able to compete in the labor market. Now, while TVET holds such a potential for skilling the youth, public spending on TVET sector is generally low in Africa. On average, we are talking about 4% of the education budget, which is spent on TVET, and that translates to only about 2% of the GDP. relatively 1.1% of the if you compare it with high-income countries. So there's an issue there in terms of how much funding we are dedicating to TVET. Despite this enormous physical infrastructure need in the sector, a large share of the public spending, remember we are only talking about 0.2% of the GDP, over 80% of that is actually going to salaries and operating costs. On the other hand, we have low investment by, besides the government, the development partners as well. Not many are actually investing in this sector. From our studies, I think less than 39% of the total spending on education is in TVET and higher education. That should be a concern for all of us, and we need to see on how we can improve on that and make sure that we address the needs of our youth. So certainly, the low investment has multiple effects on the subsector, including the deteriorated infrastructure, a damaged public perception, and also low student enrollment. And I'm saying low student enrollment, particularly for the young women. Only about 13.4% of the students in upper secondary, for instance, are able to enroll in vocational programs in sub-Saharan Africa, relative to 30.1% in the North Africa. So the issue of perception there is critical, and we need to see on how we can address that. TVET, like I said, is often seen as the last choice of students who fail to enroll in university or to pursue general education. And yet, like we have said earlier, the role of TVET in actually addressing the issue of youth unemployment is huge, and we need to find a way to address those issues. Another concern or issue that is affecting the TVET sector is the issue of governance, management, as well as relevance issues. Across the region, the TVET institutions are quite varied, of course, and we have noted that they spread across various, could I call them, departments or ministries. That in itself hinders coordination, because it is found almost every, could I say, every department has a TVET component, and they run independently. And sometimes that makes it very difficult to actually be able to recognize, to transfer the individual learning, but more importantly, to address the critical issues which you have highlighted, such as the issues around mismatch and the need to be relevant, the curricula to be relevant to labor market and industrial needs. Now, to adequately invest in TVET that addresses the youth employment, Africa needs to look at a few things, and I want to prioritize four areas. One, I think we need to improve on the quality and the relevance that encompasses linking TVET to the industrial or private sector, because that is a weak link that we could strengthen. And one strategy we could do is to develop short courses, for instance, that are targeting specific on-demand skill sets, rather than the traditional 3 and 4 years. And I'm not saying we should not be doing 3 and 4 years, but I think we are at a stage where we really need to think through on how do we address the immediate need, and how do we make sure that we also do not release to the market people who are ill-prepared. So we need to take a 3 or 4 pronged approach to be able to address the current issues that we are facing in terms of addressing the informal sector, but also in making sure that we have the youth that are well skilled with the right skill set to be able to make meaningful contribution to the economic transformation of our continent. The bank itself is also exploring a model where we are looking at skills enhancement zone, which is one of our flagship programs where we are trying to innovate in terms of trying to apply the geo-training concept to rapidly skill up the youth to be able to address the demands. What we are getting out of this so far is that it is making a difference in terms of really trying to address the demand, the industrial demand or the employment demand, because they are able to quickly identify the issues, the skills gap that are required, and design programs to be able to meet those skills needs. So this is seen as one good example that we could explore in terms of really scaling up and making sure that we strengthen on the job training. And one thing that we like about this model is that the industries that require that kind of skill that we are addressing are industries which are found within the skills enhancement zone or industrial parks. And so it becomes very easy for the youth to be able to be employed, but also to be able to practice their skills within a reasonable distance. Other strategies, and I know we've talked about this, includes just developing and operationalizing national skills development frameworks. Some of the countries are doing that, but others are still thinking about it. How can we scale that up to make sure that we are moving at the same level? Implementing system standards and guidelines for TVET industry linkages. Those could be some of the things that we need to be thinking through and looking at and really appreciating the value proposition that would bring. Issues around really, sharing experiences, conducting tracer studies, which actually helps us to understand what is going on with our TVET graduates and where are we going wrong, what are some of the areas that we could actually strengthen, so that at the end of the day, the TVET institutions are actually servicing, the key players in the ecosystem. We also need to look at ways of, I think Dr. talked about aligning TVET to competence-based education training. We have such examples on the continent. How can we use such to actually, scale up and ensure that we are able to address the needs of our youth? So really investing in TVET is critical. And I think we have a few examples on the continent that we could, draw on and be able to contribute to creating the change that we want to see. Now, in the issue of the negative perception about the subsector, again, I have a couple of things that I would like to propose that we could look at, again, to try and see how we could not only increase access and participation, but maybe we need to look at how do we brand and rebrand technical vocational education, because it's critical if the continent has to transform itself to an economic zone. Some of the things we could do is really very small but very important things, such as conducting public TVET fairs where technology context and outreach programs. And I'm talking about taking this to scale, not doing it in our corners and feeling comfortable with what we are doing, but how do we bring that to scale?
5 minutes, Enrica, 5 minutes.
Thank you. I should be able to finish in that. Yeah. So really, those are some of the things that we need to be looking at to be able to address the issue of youth unemployment, but more importantly, to be addressing the issue of investing and creating opportunities for the youth to engage. What is the bank doing in this area? The bank has been promoting investment in infrastructure, particularly for TVET and higher education, for quite some time now. Just to give an example, between 2014 and 2020, we invested about 923 million just to try and support and promote technical vocational education and higher education. The bank is also supporting the establishment of centers of excellency in several universities, African universities. Again, is to try and create space where the youth could actually innovate, explore, and be able to create the space for them to be able to bring in new ideas and contribute to the job creation. The bank is also currently finalizing the skills for employability and productivity in Africa. This is an action plan that is going to guide our investment in education and skill development so that we are able to meet the demands of our regional member countries. The Skills for Employability and Productive Africa has also identified two main areas that will be our areas of intervention and support. And these are investment in skills development infrastructure, of course, with a focus on technical vocational education and higher education, as well as supporting the strengthening of enabling environment for skills development. So making sure that we have the right policies in place and frameworks to be able to support. As a bank, we look forward to working with all of you as we try to increase our investment in technical vocational education for addressing the youth employment in Africa. Thank you so much for your attention, and I wish you a successful dialogue. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Enrica, and for keeping within time and for giving us very elaborate introductory remarks regarding this topic. As I would like to indicate to participants, we will listen to one more presentation before we can open up for discussion. But I think the key issues that Henrika has raised is that youth are a major challenge and also opportunity for Africa, and that our economies in Africa are not growing fast enough for them to be able to create jobs for these young people. She also indicated the issue of lack of employability skills among the youth, and especially emerging skills that are required for the 21st century. She indicated that there are better returns from TVET compared to other higher education systems. And so this is really an opportunity for the rest of Africa to grab this opportunity. But then we have issues of poor funding for TVET, leading to dilapidated infrastructure, trainers that are not up to date, equipment, and also the issue of poor public perception about the TVET sector, leading to low enrollment. Basically, many people think that the TVET sector is for failures, for people that cannot progress in other areas of our education system. So these are areas that we really must address as a continent. She also gave us a number of interventions, including the issues that the bank is doing, the African Development Bank, to address some of these issues, including developing national standards, investing in infrastructure, and having a better coordinated TVET sector within the countries. If you look at countries like Kenya, for example, we have a TVET authority within the country that coordinates, that sets standards, that accredits programs and institutions. And we have a dedicated examination council for the TVET sector. And we have a qualification framework that has integrated TVET into other systems of education within the country. So these are examples that we can borrow from each other. I really want to thank you for that presentation. We also have noted that there's increased attention that's being paid to the TVET sector by many players, the African Development Bank being one of them. And this is good conversation going forward. So we would like to encourage other countries within Africa to pay a lot of attention to the TVET sector, because studies have shown that the levels of industrialization in any country is measured by the number of TVET graduates per person in that country. So the lower your number of TVET graduates, the less industrialized those countries are. And this is a very dependable study. So really, for Africa to industrialize, to move to the next level, to feed its people, to create employment, the TVET sector is a crucial area of investment. Thank you very much for that. Now I want to invite, on that note, now I want to go back to Kedida Kendago from the MasterCard Foundation to give us another 20-minute presentation. Karibu, Kedida.
It is Rita Lulay from the MasterCard Foundation.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then I have the wrong program. Notes. I have a wrong program. Okay. So Rita Lulay.
Okay. Just check on your chat. I have sent you and attached you the profiles as well.
Okay. Thank you. So Rita, Karibu.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and thank you, my sister, Madame Dorova, for making my work so easy. My name is Rita Laura Lulay. I'm the lead education and skills for MasterCard Foundation in Uganda. I'm privileged to be part of this important conversation of accelerating youth employment through TVET. Youth just melt my heart. So I'm happy to share our experiences with you. And my topic is skills now and skills defining the future of Africa, perspectives from Young Africa Works. Allow me to speak without my camera because I'm having power issues, but let me share my presentation.
Okay.
Let me share my presentation so that you can all see it. Is that okay? Yeah, so going to my next slide. I would like
Rita,
to just share
put it on presentation mode.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. So I just want to share a little bit about MasterCard Foundation and the Young Africa Works. MasterCard Foundation was established in 2006 by MasterCard International and has been in Uganda for over 10 years now, focusing on education, training, and financial inclusion. But Young Africa Works is the foundation's strategy to enable 30 million young people, 70% of which are young women, across Africa to access dignified and fulfilling work. And of course, TVET is one of our key strategies. We have country programs in 7 countries right now: Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, Ghana, Ethiopia, Senegal, and Nigeria. And in Uganda, we currently have priority sectors of agriculture, construction, tourism, and entrepreneurship. But we also recognize the importance of these critical enablers of education and skilling, digital economy, and financial inclusion, because we know without those, even the well-educated may not necessarily have the decent and dignified work, especially given the fact that most of them are in the informal sector. Other programs that we support include the regional programs such as the Scholars Program, but we also have programs around COVID recovery and resilience, as well as the tag deaf that we are discussing now in partnership with the universities and the TVET institutions. Just to confirm with what my sister, Madame Doroba, talked about, the young people have many challenges to access TVET and employment. And she did talk through all this, so I'll just highlight them without going into details. The issues of skills mismatch, the low digital and technical skills, the fact that they cannot access, some of them cannot access on-job training, even when they are doing some work, they lack mentors. And then the girls face even a greater challenge because society does not believe that they cannot do certain courses like engineering, STEM, and technology, mathematics, and so on. And then we have this challenge where even those young ladies who would like to enroll and complete their training are hampered by the burden of childcare. So many times they enroll and drop or not enroll at all. And then the gender-based violence issues for the young women in the institutions, in the homes, all contribute to their lack of access. And then we also have issues to do with the economy, the cost of training, the cost of equipment, also the issue of the special groups like the refugees who cannot access certification and identification for them to be able to enroll in TVET. That said, why are we talking about skills now and for the future? Because, well described by my sister, the young people lack the practical entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and work readiness skills. And so it makes it harder for them to find jobs or keep them. And then the negative attitudes towards TVET and Agric, I will not speak more about that. It has already been explained. But also the lack of opportunities for the young people, especially the women, to enter into the education and skilling programs. And then TVET institutions lacking the relevant equipment and instructors to provide the kind of skills that is demanded in the market. We did a research in 2020, and it did confirm in all the different sectors that this is a huge problem. And then we also know that the future of work is changing. And so major modifications are needed in the skills requirements in the market. So the workforce, including the young people that we care about, must build up and update themselves with the right skills, either through informal or formal long life learning. The foundation did a research on the secondary education, preparing young people for work, which recommends 7 key skills for young people for them to prepare for work now and in the future. And these are the 5 key skills. Actually, my sister talked a lot about all of them So I'll just give very quick highlights. The foundational skills, which are really the functional literacy and numeracy skills, which everyone needs. The 21st century skills, which is includes the critical thinking, problem solving, interpretation, creativity, research skills, self-direction, planning, adaptability, initiative, and so on. And then we have the digital skills. We know the world is going digital. If our young people do not learn how to utilize the ICT devices for work, for learning, and connecting with the world, they will definitely be left behind. The technical and vocational skills, she talked a lot about it, so I will not repeat, as well as the entrepreneurship skills and the work readiness skills. Specific to agriculture, we know that with improved training and exposure to opportunities, young people will join agribusiness through formal training and be able to get into employment or start their own competitive enterprises in agriculture. I'm sure TAGDEF can testify to that. Other areas that are critical in the agricultural sector include on-farm production skills, aggregation and marketing, low-hanging fruits like the fee for service skills, machine operation and maintenance, climate smart agriculture, technical specialization and in-depth skills, the high-value agricultural skills, as well as innovation for value addition, so that the young people can be able to produce products that are needed in the market, but also add value to it so that they can earn more and live a better life. So what about skilling and young people in agriculture in relation to Young Africa Works? We work with a number of partners. One of them is the TAGDEF program, where the foundation has established strong links between the universities and TVET institutions that do research, entrepreneurship, and introduction of new agri practices. MasterCard Foundation will continue to work with its partners to strengthen TVETs, VTIs, and apprenticeships to upskill both the trainers and students on relevant and quality market-facing skills across sectors. Because just like my sister said, we need to connect between the education and skilling sector and the labor market, which is the private sector, if we are going to be able to help these young people to access jobs. We'll continue to work with the youth to support them on job training, mentorship, coaching, internship, and job placements, as well as work with mentors and role models to change mindset and increase youth engagement in both on-farm and off-farm production and agribusiness opportunities. So just to emphasize what Doruba said, we cannot increase employment opportunities without working with the private sector. We need to connect the private sector and education and skilling institutions, because the private sector is the one that has the job. The education and skilling is the supply side. So we must work with them to design the curriculum and deliver that curriculum to the young people with the right skills so that they're able to access education, employment that is dignifying and fulfilling. And we could do this by connecting with the informal sector, the TVET, even the higher institution. And as we continue to invest in the youth employment, we are calling upon each and every one of us to remember that the world is in the fourth industrial revolution. We must ensure that the young people have the right digital skills to fit in the world of work, but also to learn. And then we have to remember that the world economy is circular. And so we must produce young people that are global facing instead of internal community or country facing. And then the issue of climate change is real. So whatever programs we design and work with the youth, we must remember that they have to use climate smart strategies. And then the issue of the fact that we are in the green recovery period, and whatever we do must take care of that, as well as the global health crisis that we know about. So as we prepare the youth, we must also remember that our countries have set accepted to be part of the global goals, and they have made commitments that also we are committed to. So I just wanted us to remember, as we continue to support the youth, that we ensure that in our programs, we are taking care of the forces of change within which our programs are being implemented. Thank you so much. That's it from Young Africa Works and the MasterCard Foundation.
Thank you very much, Rita, for keeping within time and for this insightful and futuristic presentation that has opened the discussion towards how we should treat TVET within the confines of the COVID-19 and the changing climate. And so you have raised important issues about how TVET is important in helping us to recover from the effects of corona virus disease, the issues of digital skilling, because as you know, corona has really disrupted, and Africa had the lowest in penetration of internet, and yet we want to continue giving quality training, even using online teaching that will then help us move forward. You have also raised the important issue of special need groups, such as women, people living with disability, and even refugees, and how they could acquire skills from the TVET sector that would enable us to make a difference to these people. You have also very ably linked TVET skills, especially in the agricultural sector, to entrepreneurship and the issues of aggregation of agricultural produce and also marketing, and emphasize that agriculture holds the key for the continent when it comes to growth and investment. And so this is really very nice for us at this point. I would like then to invite members for the next 10 minutes If you have any issues that you want to raise, I can also see that some of you have been putting your questions on the chat board. So let me start by those that want to speak, and then we'll go back to look at the issues that you have raised. I also encourage that since we are 154, it will not be possible for all of us to speak, but it will be good to put some of your questions and comments in the chat board, and we will address some of them. So who wants to start? You can carry up your hand. I see Femi. When I give you an opportunity, please quickly introduce yourself, who you are, where you work, what you do, and which country you come from. So Femi Awoyomi, please proceed.
Okay, good afternoon and good morning, wherever you are. My name is Femi Awoyomi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, yes.
Excellent presentation by our speaker. I just want to re-emphasize the need for the stakeholder to be brought together when we want to implement some of those recommendations, especially the private sector, who are the key stakeholder in employing the young people. So there is need for them to also be involved whenever we are having this type of conversation. It will help a lot because the input from private sector will help in program development, implementation, and also evaluation of whatever we want to do for Africa. That's just what I want to say. Thank you.
So Femi has raised the issue of involvement of the private sector in training of TVET, and I think this is extremely important. Remember, we are training for a very dynamic private sector, and involvement of private sector needs to start all the way at the point of developing occupational standards, curriculum, even part of the training. Currently, we are emphasizing that part of the training, what we are called dual training, that part of the training takes place within the workplace and also within the training college, so that students are able to get skills, the employability skills. So I think it's very important that private sector is involved, not just in developing curricula, but also in training, also in assessment and the certification of candidates. I think you raise a very, very important issue. The next, if you can write down Rita and Hendrika, so that then I'll give each one of you an opportunity to respond. Next, who wants to go? Stanley Nyongesa, please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Stanley Nyongesa from Egerton University, Kenya, from TagDev program. I would like also to re-emphasize the issue of rebranding the TVET sectors. You know, that is the issue that has been discussed for quite some time, and it's a high time for the scholars to come up with the ways of actually rebranding these TVET sectors, so that the perception of people, the perception of youth can change about these TVET sectors. They should not see it as a place where people go there because they have failed. That's where they are going to save their life. They should just see it as a way that it's a way of joining, so that we can be able to get skills and get relevant job that can enable us to improve our living standard and also improve the economy of the country. Because as we see right now, the political world has changed. Everything has changed.
Stanley, keep to the question, because we need to give others opportunity. Juma, yes, there is a question from Dimba. I think Stanley, that's enough.
Yes, I think you have made your point, Stanley.
Yes.
Bimba?
There's a question from Dimba on the chat.
On the chat. Okay, so let's go to the chat and look at the issues that are there. I see Lula was talking about Stanley. I think there's the issue of dignified jobs. I think that was indicated by Anthony, that and the Patience has re-emphasized it, that what youth don't just need jobs, but they want dignified jobs. If I go down, on the other issue, I think Basil Mukonola is just thanking everyone. Ahmed Abi is thanking Anthony for the well-spoken speech. I see, you said Jerida, okay, sorry, I got that. TVET training should be entirely practical. I think this is Geoffrey talking about TVET training being practical to empower graduates so that they can be job creators. I think there is also Richard Ongita. You are correct, because skill is more than just knowledge. Knowledge can change and to sometimes run out of debt. So skill is personal. I don't know, but we get the idea that the world is changing, so we also need to change the way we empower our youths. I see David Ekepu need to provide more scholarships for students in the TVET sector to attract more youth from government and the private sector and the bank. Our industry identified skills in the field of ICT. Somebody's talking about what they offer in modules as far as training is concerned. Let me give an opportunity then to start. Henrika, is there anything you want to respond to what we have seen on the chat and what the comments that have been made?
I think I would like to draw Dr. Doroba to the question from Dimba. We have seen so far that generally there is a negative, I think, attitude towards TVET and agri courses. How do we create an enhanced demand, possibly using economic stimuli programs with our various occupations?
Okay. Is Henrika still here? Maybe Lula.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for the feedback. Just to respond to a couple of questions that I was saying, some of them I may have to go to the chat and just respond directly. But 3 things I want to respond to. Number 1 is the engagement of private sector. That is critical, and this is why for the bank, we do make sure that we engage private sector in all our operations. As I said earlier, we are into developing an action plan, which is going to guide the bank's engagement going forward. And so we will be bringing in private sector to just help us think through and see what is feasible. Rebranding of TVET sector, again, that is critical. I think I did mention that as a bank, again, we are testing a model where we are working on skills enhancement zone within an industrial park, so that we are able to, number 1, be able to identify what are some of the skills that the industries within that industrial park need, and how do we support, how does government support those industries to be able to quickly reskill or, or skill the youth that should be employed in those. So it's feasible. And I think if we work on those areas, we collectively would be able to scale up such innovations. How do we enhance negative perception about TVET? There are different things that we could do. A conversation like what we are having now is critical, because then it creates that awareness on the importance. A lot of good examples have been highlighted that we could actually promote and support. But I think more importantly for me is let's bring all the key actors in the ecosystem on the table, so that we strengthen that collaboration and just make sure that what we are doing is adding value. Unless they see the value proposition, it will be very difficult for everyone else to appreciate. And also it is about a changing mindset. So if we are able to highlight the value proposition, it will be easy for people to change their minds in terms of how they envision TVET. And above it all, it's investment. The first lift is critical. Let's invest, let people work in environments that are similar to what they are going to see as they get to, to the labor market or to the industries out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Enrica. Rita, you have some interventions to make?
Yeah, thank you so much. One of the things that, of course, I do agree that engaging the private sector is critical, but the question is how. I think one of the things is before we do any TVET investments or interventions, it's important to do a market analysis of what kind of skills the private sector needs. And I think that once we do that and also look at the interests and aspirations of the young people, then work with them as the training institutions to develop market-facing curriculum and deliver it with the private sector. We can engage the private sector to come to the institutions to deliver career talks, even provide mentorship, but we can also link the students to the private sector for internship, for job placement, and create that kind of interaction where the education and skilling is not working in silos, but working directly with the employers and making that connection even with the students so that as they study, they know exactly what they are going to do. In that way, we can even have the private sector taking on some of the, students immediately they complete their studies, and therefore we reduce the transition to work period for the young people.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm afraid we have to make progress. So I see a few hands up. I think please type your question in the chat box so that we can make progress. The next two presenters, will give them 15 minutes each. I will notify you when you reach 10 minutes so that you keep within time. Also, if you present, kindly after presenting, look at the chat board so that we don't waste time. You write down the questions that are coming up there so that I give you time to respond. You are able to make progress. I now want to invite Dr. Pasiri Mukonola from Kuru University in Uganda to make a 15-minute presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, moderator. Let me try to share my screen here.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah.
We can
see the screen. You can put it on presentation mode. Yeah, it's
okay.
Good.
Thank you very much. Thank you, moderator and RUForum for organizing this talk. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to join the conversation and about the youth. I'm here to share with you experience from out of our engagement as Gulu University and one of the TVETs, the Bobby Community Polytechnic, in reaching out to the category that we call the out-of-school youth. Because when many times when we are discussing the issue of the youth, there is the temptation to think that it's homogeneous, but the earlier speakers have tried to disaggregate that even within that constituency, there are a number of differences. There are youth with disabilities, there are youth without even the basic foundation skills and so on. So our intervention was really on the category that we call the out of school youth. These could have dropped out, like one of the speakers mentioned about the leaking pipe, that they were not able to go through to the end of the education cycle. But there are also those that could have not even enrolled at any one point in the school program. So out there are youth that are not in employment, they are not in education training, but they are there. So how do we reach out to them? So in this intervention, we aimed to enhance their entrepreneurial and technical skills. We also aimed to support them to form vibrant youth producer groups. One of the speakers has already alluded to the fact of aggregation and bulking, but also we aimed to build the capacity internally, but also to integrate our efforts as TVET and the university sector to reach out to the out-of-school youth. So, like has already been alluded to earlier, technical and entrepreneurial skills are necessary preconditions if we are to tackle the challenge of the youth unemployment. The statistics is already out there that the completion rates or the dropout rates are very high. Recently, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics has released the statistics, and the outlook is not very good, both for primary and secondary, but also the TVET sector. The dropouts are very high. But then for this category that we targeted in our intervention, we are saying that they require short, targeted technical and entrepreneurial skills, because for them, time is an issue, so time preference and urgency. They need the right balance. They are not really for theory, but they want the hands-on aspect, because they want a particular trade where they can master the skill and move on with that. But they also need the right incentives and motivation to be able to put what they acquire into practice. Our intervention is also in line with the government of Uganda's efforts of reaching out to the informal sector with targeted approaches for informal sector training. We've seen investments in institutions, but also in human capacity, looking at the non-formal training sector. But this approach will require what we are calling a public-private partnership to tackle the challenge, because we need all the actors to be involved in this to be able to address the challenge, especially for the segment of the youth that are not in the educational system. They need something, they need a livelihood. So in this, we went out and reached out to them to try and enhance their entrepreneurial and technical skills, specifically targeting the area of northern Uganda. Because of the history of that region, the number of youth that dropped out along different nodes of the educational curriculum, but they need a livelihood. They need a decent livelihood that has already been alluded to. So we specifically looked at integrating entrepreneurship, technical, but also community engagement in the non-formal agriculture curriculum that is being offered by the Bobby Community Polytechnic. So in this, we designed tailored out-of-school youth engagement models and modules to engage the out-of-school youth. And so in this way, we were able to reach out, and we had, what I'm going to share with you is an experience that we had where we had a group of youth that selected market-oriented vegetable production as something that they could work with and be able to earn a living out of it. So the engagement between the university and the Bobby Community Polytechnic has given us a platform in which to partner.
Now you have 5 minutes, Basli.
Yes, I'll be there soon. So this partnership has given us an opportunity and a space in which to act and reach out to the out-of-school youth. This group chose to be facilitated with skilling in market-oriented vegetable production. And here we see them going through the practicals, going through the training, because agribusiness and more so vegetable production and marketing is knowledge intensive, relies a lot on inputs, including agrochemicals. So we needed to take them through all this. And we're able to give them a small startup in terms of seed, in terms of chemicals to raise their nurseries, able to move forward. So what we see is that various groups chose particular vegetables depending on their interest, but also given the market search that they were able to do, what they could quickly sell out there in their communities. So we see a number of vegetables selected. And in this table, we did 2 seasons, but this is just 1 season of the year 2020. And we see that a number of groups were able to actually grow these vegetables. They were able to market, and here they are reporting revenues. We see that there are particular groups. These are in local names, but this group worked with tomatoes, and they were able to sell 60 boxes of at an equivalent of Uganda shillings 7 million. So these are revenues that they were able to realize. So when they were able to make these sales out of their vegetables, what we see is that they now are trying to accumulate assets in terms of livestock. We see livestock here in terms of oxen for higher services for the community. So they are able now to provide a service to the community. And we see some of them going into bulking of produce, especially cereals, legumes, and oil crops. So they were able to build a bulking store, and they are actually using the revenues from the vegetables. They are now into this other value chain of cereals with the purpose of bulking and then selling later on. So what we see is that a number of these youth were individual. They are now into groups, and groups that have been formalized. They have been registered, at least at sub-county level. They are able now to sell their vegetables with a cooperative that is in that district. And now they are also directly selling their vegetables to traders because the volumes and the quality are there. So traders come right up to the farm gate, and they're able to get the quantities they need for export to South Sudan. Like I said earlier, they are buying and bulking cereals. They are accumulating livestock, pigs, goats, and cattle, but they are also into ox plows and oxen for hire in the communities. But some of them are also into service provision, for example, providing a service in spraying and pest and disease diagnostics, but they are also diversifying into local seed businesses where they need to be further supported to get the quality certification labels to be able to trade seed. Through this partnership still, we've been able to support some of the youth groups to add value to their vegetables, because sometimes the market is not very good, but with this solar equipment, they are able to dry their vegetables in the seasons of plenty and then sell later on when there is scarcity in the market. There were challenges, I will skip that. But important is that we are learning lessons as we move, that when we focus on the out-of-school youth, this kind of intervention enhances them to do a self-discovery and a self-relevance in the communities where they are. Two, that the University TVET partnership offers a non-intimidating and non-congested platform or space in which we can engage those youth that have remained outside there in the communities. Three, that the University TVET partnership also gives us opportunities to broker and operationalize even bigger partnerships to solve what we are calling the wicked problems in the agricultural value chains, and that the TVET, this partnership, University TVET, offers diverse spheres of influence and competencies to address the unemployment challenge, but also it is an avenue for capacity building and resource mobilization for all the actors involved. Thank you very much. That is the brief experience I wanted to share with us all. Thank you for the opportunity to this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Basil, for that enlightening example of how TVET can be used to transform communities. I think you have raised important issues about out-of-school youth. And I think for many of us that travel across Africa, we see a lot of idle youth sitting on the roadsides, and that is a wasted resource for the continent of Africa. We see a lot of them driving border. We see a lot of them causing political violence because they have energy and you have not engaged that energy. So I think that is quite a lot of, and of course it also illustrates the leakages that we have in our education system, where there's a lot of dropout, completion rates are low, and post-school engagement is also a big issue. So I think, and I've seen that somebody has indicated that part of what could resolve this issue is something called recognition of prior learning, which we've just instituted within Kenya, where people can be assessed for skills they have, regardless of where they got them from, and given certification so that they're able to engage either in business or in work, or even continue with their studies. I'll also want to say that part of the challenge of TVET is that for the young people to go there, technology is changing, their interests are changing. ICT is important, but we also must make technical training centers to be attractive. I wanted to give an example of a World Bank study that I was involved in several African countries, where we visited several technical training centers. And in many aspects, we concluded that after 3 years of training for some of those youth, if they are walking out of a training center and they meet another one at the gate who is coming for enrollment, that the skill gap between the two was nil, meaning that after 3 years of technical training, the candidates who are leaving and the ones who are coming in who had not been trained did not have any different skills. So that means that they had obtained almost nothing from those colleges. So it's good to have training colleges, but it's also good to have equipment, to have trainers, to have a formal timetable that people can engage with so that they actually gain skills. If the youth feel that they're coming to a college to waste time, they will drop out even from the TVET training centers. So we must not just make them attractive at the gate, but we must have technology that they can engage with once they get in there. We must be able to invest, and that is important. At this juncture, I want to invite Swanepoel from the University of Free State, South Africa. Jan is a good friend of mine, and I think I'm happy to meet you here to make a presentation. Jan. And you have 15 minutes, and it is now 16:28. Start.
Thank you very much. Can you see my presentation? Let me just
yes, we can see it. Jan?
That's it. Is it on slideshow?
Yes, it is.
Is that better?
There you are. That's better. That's better. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the privilege to talk to you today. I'm Jan Swanepoel from the University of the Free State in South Africa. Today, I'm going to talk about skilling marginalized groups in South Africa. And this is from a CAR Plus skilling perspective. Now, according to the quarterly labor force survey of the second quarter of 2021, young people are still struggling in South Africa in the labor market. The official unemployment rate was about 34.4%, and this rate was 63% among young people aged between the ages of 15 to 24 years, implying that almost 2 in every 3 young people in the labor force do not have a job. So in South Africa, I think there's a perfect storm brewing. Soon you will hear that our grade 12 pass rate has improved and that all in all, the year of 2021 was a great success. But if we are lucky, only 37 of every 100 grade 1s eventually pass grade 12. At this stage, almost 48% of grade 10s never get to grade 12, and of the 100 grade 1s, only 4 will end up with higher education degrees. Our graduate employment rate is also telling a very bad story at this stage. So 40.3% of youngsters between the ages of 15 to 24 years, comprised by about 4.1 million people, are graduates that's unemployed, and 15.5% for the ages between 25 and 34 years of age. So the burden of unemployment causes some of these young people to become discouraged from participating in the labor market. And they are also not building on their skills base through education and training. So they are not in the employment, education, or training industry. So we call that the NEET challenge. So South Africa's challenge is greater than most other emerging economies at this stage. 1 in 3 young South Africans between 15 and 24 years are disengaged in the labor market. And this causes a great challenge for South Africa. Effective school-to-work transitions are very critical. A failure to integrate into the labor market threatens social cohesion. Post-apartheid context is a very big concern, and there's overrepresentation of Black South Africans in this group. Although there's a lot of bad things happening, there's also some strengths in the South African system. So action is required across a range of fronts to promote economic development, and active measures to encourage the labor market insertion is very important. Energy and commitment which South Africans were bringing to their different roles in the vocational system, whether as teachers, college and institution leaders, policymakers, employers, trade unionists, parents, and students, are very much involved and committed to the vocational system. And in 2009, the Department of Higher Education and Training was established with the objective to develop the human resources of the workforce in an inclusive way. So the department brought together responsibility for university and the college sector, adult learning centers, private institutions, the sector education and training authorities, the National Skills Fund, as well as the regulatory bodies responsible for qualifications and quality assurance. South Africa has a well-established qualifications framework, and this provides a helpful structure. And there's also been a valuable consolidation of the TVET college sector. So in my life, I've been blessed to be raised on a farm, to learn the value of agriculture, working hard and being privileged enough to get a good education. And I think, I believe you know the story of the starfish, where a lot of starfish flushed onto the beach and the young boy started to throw them back into the ocean. And the elderly man walked by and said, "But you would never make a difference. Look how many are there." And he picked up one and threw it back into the ocean and said, "But it made a difference to this one." So in my passion for people, community upliftment, entrepreneurship and farming, brought me to a platform where I could live my passion here at the University of the Free State. So I would like to shortly show you the products where we are involved in and how we try to make a difference. The first project I would like to share with you is the Reform Car project. with the title Building Competitiveness for Communal Farmers through the Developing the Wool Value Chain in the Free State Province of South Africa. So this project entails research, farmer development, and community skills training. The next project is the University of Food Community Garden project, where we firstly train university students staying in residences how to produce their own vegetables, the preparation of the vegetables, and also the preservation of the vegetables. And the food that are produced goes to the university's food bank, from where it is distributed to students that is food insecure. And we have two supporting companies, Siakana Food Gardens, as well as Tiger Brands, that's assisting us financially with this project. And we just started the project with Grain SA. And with this project, our aim is to reinvent the process of nixtamalization in developing new products and recipes that will be taught to low-income communities, and enabling them to start small processing plants and selling these products for an extra income. So we just started with this project. And the other one is our Standard Bank Agribusiness Transformation Program. And this project assists Black farmers to move from subsistence or small farmers to commercial farmers through training, mentorship, and financial assistance through the loans from the bank. We are currently in the third year of the project, and it is extended for another 3 years. So here's just some photographs of our farmer engagements, our community engagement, where we train the women in making and processing wool products. There's another one. And we just got our first big order to supply the local store. And they put in a big order for us to start to manufacture. Yes, our students and TVET student engagements, they are forming a very integral part of our training, where they are trained and assisted, and they also assist us in the trainings. And there's another picture of the farmer engagement. Furthermore, I'm also involved in a private further education and training college, MSc Business College. So we have embarked on an incubator project for entrepreneurs called Building a Future for the Unemployed Youth by building capacity and developing economic viability through entrepreneurship in the Free State. Now, this project is funded by Ruforum, and we are working together with an amazing company called Young Entrepreneurs that develop entrepreneurs from a young age. In this project, there are 15 micro enterprises in the program that we assist in becoming sustainable and grow and to employ even more people. Here you will see just some of the businesses that we are assisting. You can see there's Buttercup. She's making coffee from butternut. It's a type of pumpkin. We have also a guy that's making blue wines. We have a broiler producer, and also a piggery, and also somebody that's making clothes and training people to knit. So we have 15 small micro enterprises that we are assisting there. This is just a short summary of the numbers. You can see with our Ruforum Car Plus project, we engaged with about 400 people already. With the Tiger Brands project, the community garden project, more than 150 students were influenced there. And the Grain SA just started. So we are planning on working with about 100 farmers and 300 community people. The Standard Bank project with the Agribusiness Transformation program, we already trained 75 farmers. And as I said, we are going to train another 75 over the next 3 years. And with the incubator project, there's about 15 people that we are assisting to build their businesses and become sustainable. So all in all, you know, it's always difficult to say how many people directly and indirectly benefited, but if you can teach one farmer just to be on a lookout for a sick ewe, then you can assist him to save that ewe and in advance have more lambs, and this will make him more economic viable. So what is the lessons we have learned? The need is huge. Food insecurity and unemployment and poverty is a great matter of concern. We need to start small. Children at a young age must be taught discipline to work and study hard. But to start small, one need the parents to take a stand and properly raise their children. So children need to be fed not only with physical food, but also emotional and spiritual food. And as you can see, the matter is socioeconomic. And I believe we need to turn this downward spiral into a prosperous, sustainable socioeconomic system. So the question is, where do we start? Is it with our fiscal and monetary policies, with our strong academic platforms? Should we reformulate the education system? I feel all of those are very, very important, but we have to develop a new approach. We have to be on the ground. So I think, first of all, our projects are only a success because we have a team of committed people with the same hearts and the same goals, and they are accountable. And because these projects need to be managed and implemented, we need competent trainers and mentors. And to create, I always say we need to create entrepreneurs, not only graduates or job seekers. A master's degree must actually be a business plan. But at the end, our entrepreneurs will create the jobs. So how my process of working is to clearly analyze value chains, especially in the agriculture sector, and then identify gaps and skills in this value chains. You can even create a separate value chain. And as you all know, we have formal value chains where it is sometimes very difficult to get access to, especially for our small farmers in terms of quantities and qualities. But there's also informal value chains that exist. And I call it the intentional communities. There's massive economic activity in the informal areas. And if you can slot people into that, it's also good. Then you have to develop a proper project plan, financial and other resources needed. You need to develop an implementation plan, and then the funding must be obtained. Then you should start to fit in the individuals, the beneficiaries, into certain value chain slots where they can fit the best. And then the training comes. Marginalized people need effective training in the form of knowledge first, and then they need the skills to apply that knowledge. It must be competence-based, and business planning, business management needs to form a strong part of that. And I think somebody also said earlier, industry input on the training, what they require is also very important. We've also realized to build networks of partnerships, especially with the private sector, the government, or academia, is also very, very important. And when you are training these people and the training is concluded, then they need to take hands, whether it is with mentors or with private sector role players, commercial producers or processors. It's very important for the sustainability to take hands with these people. So what do we do? We start with one, and we make a difference with one. Mother Teresa said, I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. So I would like to thank Roof Forum and the MasterCard Foundation, everybody that is working hard on projects like these to make a difference to the people. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jan, for keeping within time. You have raised important issues. I would encourage you that you go through the chat box so that you take down issues that have been raised on the chat board, and as I welcome a few people to speak. But before that, I think you have raised important issues about youth and employability. You talk about South Africa, but I see it as a problem of Africa. It's not just a storm in South Africa, it's actually a storm across Africa. It is a big challenge that we as Africa must start to address, and we must address it very urgently, and we must address it practically, because the number of youth that have no jobs is growing every day. They're also growing very restless, and we really must do something about it. When you go across many of African cities, you see a lot of idle youth, as I said, some doing menial jobs, driving border, and doing those kind of things. And we really must invest in skills that will make a lot of sense for our people. And you also indicate a very clear organized TVET system for South Africa, where we can all learn from a system that is well coordinated and centralized and regulated, because part of building quality and building confidence in the TVET sector is to have it properly regulated and accredited and so on. So the consolidation that you've done, the qualification framework that has enabled integration between the TVET sector and other sectors is also very important. You talk about the products that you are developing with your team, and I'm really encouraged with that. And the fact that quite often when we bring people together to carry out business in groups, we forget about the viability, the economic viability. Are these enterprises that they are engaging in profitable? So that if they're not profitable, then what will happen is that they will become a drain to the group. So they will invest a lot of money, they lose the money, so they become discouraged, and so on. So it's important that as we work with youth enterprises and group enterprises, that we ensure that we do proper feasibility studies to ensure that the activities and the enterprises that we introduce today, these young people, really make economic sense and are viable and make profits that are reasonable for all the group members. So that is quite a challenge. I now want to invite a few hands, and then as Jan reads the comments, and then I will invite Basil to respond to some of the issues. Please read through the chat. And Jan, and also Anthony, if you have any intervening issues. I think it has been asked whether these presentations will be made available. Maybe when you talk, Anthony Ekuru, you could respond to that issue as well. Who wants to speak? And we'll give this about 10 minutes, and then we'll continue with the presentations. Okay, I see Amon Kademeri. Please introduce yourself, where you are and what you do, and ask your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, the moderator. My name is Amon Kademeri. I work for AVC Foundation in Uganda, and I am in charge of skills development on a project called Skilling in Entrepreneurship for Inclusive Youth Employment. One comment that I need to stress very clearly is that whereas we are talking about TVET in terms of emphasizing entrepreneurial and the technical skills, to the best of my knowledge and my experience in youth programming, I really value the component of employable, or what we call work readiness. It's a huge gap. We have had so many graduates come out of the universities. They have the technical skills, they have the entrepreneurial skills, but the attitude and their value towards increasing productivity in terms of where they're employed, it's actually not worth. People have poor work ethics. You look at the illusion of use of phones, and you find people in offices, but the way they look at things, the way they really perceive, and the way they really do things is totally different and does not add any value. So that's why most of the graduates are not able to move into the employment ladder. One gets a job today, the following day, 2-3 months, he's not even able to finish his probation, he's fired, Why? Poor work ethics. Some cannot fit in the team, others have poor work ethics, others don't know how to manage time. Even those who are promoted lack skills in human resource management, others do not have the right financial skills. So there is really a lot away from somebody being technical and away being somebody being entrepreneurial. The component of work readiness needs to be strongly emphasized in whatever we are doing, whatever programs that we are doing as far as addressing the issue of employment. Short of that, we may not really move a step. I submit.
Okay. Thank you, Amon. I think there's Ruth Kiama. Ruth? She disappeared. So do we have any other person that would like to make a comment? I don't see any. So let me ask then the presenters to respond, starting with Basley. And please look at the chat box as well.
Basil, just respond to one issue each so that we catch up with time.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I recognize the comment of Amon. It is very pertinent. But from the chat, somebody raised the issue of sustainability post-training. What we've actually done is that these out-of-school youth actually select what it is that they think they can work with, depending on the resources they have, depending on the market access. So we support them based on the enterprise that suits their environment. And actually, there is minimal support in terms of resources, but they use their own resources, labor, land, and they are actually guided to look at the marketing aspect in the sense that the enterprise chosen actually gives them a return. And what we are seeing is that from these returns, they are able to continue with the production, but also save some money through their VSLAs, the Village Saving and Lending Associations, and accumulate money to acquire the assets that we've seen them diversify into. So in that way, we think that our approach is really sustainable for as long as the markets are in place to support the enterprises chosen. Then another comment briefly was about the scaling up, which is also related to sustainability. These youth that we are talking about, they are youth, but most of them are independent and have their own households and families and so on. So whatever they are doing it as a family. The spouse, they are young ones, so they are all involved in this. And we think that this is one way to kind of also touch the young generation in terms of the requisite skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Basley. Let me ask Jan to respond to any of the issues that he wants to.
Thank you, Prof. Yes, I see there's a question regarding the TVET systems in South Africa, and that the TVET colleges is not really working because there's a bigger need for students to rather go to universities and so forth. I think we need to recreate and redevelop our TVET system. I think there is a place for them, and I think the skills markets should be expanded enough so that, and the economics should be stimulated by government. There should be a large fiscal investment into the country so that there's disposable money available. And I think then it will be, it would be much more attractive to go to the TVET colleges. So that's just my sense on the TVET issue in South Africa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Let me ask Anthony if he has any interventions to make, including any logistical issues that you may want to bring.
First is that the session is streamed live on YouTube. So all the material that is running on right now is live on YouTube. So you can be able to check at the Raw Forum YouTube account and you can be able to get this session. But we will also reshare the various materials through we will simply upload them and share the link. So you can be able to download the various materials using the link so that it doesn't overwhelm your respective email address.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. It is 6 minutes to 5. And yes, I wanted to say something about what Amon said about employability and soft skills. What we are saying in Kenya today is that having technical skills is only having half of the skills that you need to operate in the workplace. So being a good doctor is good, but if you cannot interact or communicate or work with other doctors and work with patients, it means that, so you need soft skills. In other words, we are saying as a continent, gradually and incrementally, we need to be thinking not only about the hard skills, the technology skills, the entrepreneurial skills, but also the soft skills of leadership, teamwork, communication, and so on, so that the young people that we produce fit into the workplace. We also note that we are dealing with different generations, Generation Y, Generation Z, and all these people have different ways of operating in the workplace. And it is up to HR managers and institutions that engage them to really make sure that they're able to fit into the expectations of these young workers, because they are also a different type of worker. Now I want to invite, it's 4:55 here in Kenya. I want to invite Virginia Nyamu, former principal of Baraka Agricultural College, to make a presentation. Virginia, you have 15 minutes. Please try and keep within time. So far, I think we are doing well. Virginia.
Thank you very much, our moderator, and all the protocol observed. My name is Virginia Nyamu. I've been working in collaboration with the Egerton University for a couple of years. And I think my task here is to explain or to give evidence of how such collaboration can transform a TVET. And I'm giving a case of Baraka Agricultural College. I want to say on the onset that the future of agri-food systems needs to be built on science and innovation if it is to meet the complex challenges facing humanity. And universities are hubs of science and innovations. TVETs are consumers of the innovations. And when they take the innovations, they provide hands-on skill to their graduates so that they can be able to propagate the same to the societies. Baraka is an agricultural TVET institution that produce labor and offer flexible, demand-driven courses to their students. So in the course of our interaction, Egerton University and Baraka College, we formed a very mutual relationship. From the onset, Baraka was involved in writing a proposal, and this one in particular was in seed potato. Coincidentally, Baraka is in an ecological zone where seed potato did very well. But over the years, Baraka had never engaged in such a production and also assisting the farmers in the neighborhood. But when Egerton University came in through the CAP project, this one became like an eye-opener. And the opportunity was well taken. The collaboration opened the eyes of Baraka College, and we saw the potential of taking seed potato project as a business. And this one did very well. The project allowed us to cultivate 3 acres of seed potato. But because of the success of the project, Baraka was able to take up the challenge and was able to grow up to 14 acres in a year. And this became a big project because the farmers in the neighborhood were able to get certified seeds, which increased their productivity. I want to say that, giving an example of a year like 2019, the college was able to develop or to grow about 14 acres, 14 tons of seed, shaggy seed in particular. And this seed was distributed to about 102 farmers. And this created a big impact to the farming community in the neighborhood, whose production was very poor because they didn't have certified seed. Baraka, collaborating with Egerton University, provided a solution to this problem that enabled the farmers to do very well. And I noted that this project also increased the employment opportunities for the students. The farmers who came in to buy the seeds asked the college to provide some short courses on potato production management. And when they were in Baraka studying or understanding the production, management production, they encountered our students who were well prepared, and they were able to book them immediately after their graduation to work in their farms. And this increased employment opportunities for the youth. I want to say that that one worked almost 100% because the demand for these students or for the graduates of the TVET in our college outstretched the provision. So I would say that that worked very well. And I also noted that in the process of doing this project with the Egerton University, they would come along and see what our students and our staff were doing. And they gave something that we call experiential learning, that the staff, the teachers, the tutors were able to learn on the ground to understand what was happening. And this was true for management, good agricultural practices, disease management, post-harvest management, market leakages. It worked very well for Baraka. And that is why I would comfortably say that this is a business opportunity that came along because of our interaction with Egerton University. And then all the staff of Baraka and the students were so much engaged in what was happening in Egerton University pertaining to this CAP project. Our students were taken in to join with the students of Egerton University to carry out activities like the baseline survey, to find out the position of the farmers towards seed potato. And this is an opportunity that had not happened before. So it opened opportunities for our students and our staff to relate with the farmers and to relate with the staff of Egerton University. And this, of course, gave a different view towards the scholars, because initially it wasn't possible for us to reach the staff of Egerton University, also directly because of the academia differences, locational differences. It wasn't possible. But now with this engagement, we noted that there was a very close correlation. And of course, it worked very well for Baraka because the staff were not as trained in terms of good agricultural practice as those of the Egerton University. And by sharing with them, it was possible to have the knowledge transfer from what was happening in the university to what was happening to the community, because we act as a conduit of this information to the farmers. So I would say that that worked very well. And in the process of relating with the project, TAGDEF, I would say that we would expose or we'd share the challenges that we faced as a college. And the project came in handy to assist us. For example, we noted that our staff and those of other colleges lacked skills in proposal writing. And for sustainability of such institutions, proposal writing is key. Therefore, we requested the RUFORAM to help us come together, many TVET institutions, and learn this very important skill of proposal writing. And that worked. And I'm happy to say that I was the coordinator of this project, and it worked very well. We were able to bring on board about 19 TVETs from the region who came and had a 1-week course on proposal writing. And this one must have improved their writing skills. Also in the process, we were helped by RUFORAM to write or to develop curricula. And in particular, I want to say that we did a national curriculum on piggery production. This had never happened in Kenya again. And the farmers who did piggery were not well equipped with the skills. And also the college did not understand very well about the occupational standards with the farmers. So with the help of RUFORAM, we were able to develop curriculum that was later validated to be a national curriculum. And this has worked well for small-scale farmers who would wish to continue with piggery farm. Also, our collaboration enabled us to have very good reporting strategies. Because in the course of our interaction, we were required to have very good reporting framework so that we are able to see how we are impacting on the society. And this worked very well in the sense that this was sustainable for the college, that even as the project will continue even after this funding, the college is able to keep record on social impact between the college and the farmers. So I would say that the college worked very well with the Baraka in terms of social networking, that besides the project, the CAP project, we had other very nice networking based on the interaction. We were able to interact with other seed producers in the country. We were able to organize for trade fairs, seed potato trade fairs in the region. And I remember the last one we did in 2018, we were able to attract more than 3,000 farmers who came to Baraka and learned more about management of seed potato, the varieties of seed potatoes, meeting the fertilizers manufacturers and the inputs. And I think to me that was a good plus for the society and the small scale farmers who would otherwise not have managed to get this information. So I noted that even in all our social gatherings, with the graduations, with the other activities, it was possible for us to involve the Egerton University staff, which was very difficult before. So in our interaction, a case of Baraka, I would say that there was great mutual benefit, because Baraka, being a technical college, was able to get the skills or the science from the university and implemented the project. And we did much better than the university in terms of seed production. And we took it as a business, and it has excelled and opened our eyes. The opportunities were enormous. And as I said earlier, our students had gained so much in terms of project management, in terms of seed potato management, post-harvest handling. They gained so much. And the farmers who came along to buy the seeds and do the short courses carried them away with them so that they could continue offering the services or the skills of this important aspect. So I think as Baraka, the collaboration is very good. And I noted that it is not about competition. It was about complementarity, so that the potential of the students who are in Baraka was raised to higher standards. And this gave them a lot of confidence. So I would say our interaction enabled us to cascade down the knowledge that was in the university through TVET to the communities, and that worked very well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Virginia, for that input through your presentation on transforming a TVET institution model operations with evidence from Baraka College. I think what we have learned from there is that, as you indicated, that food production in Africa needs to benefit from science and technology, and there are lots of new technologies, including tissue culture, genetically modified organisms, and other technologies that will create either disease resistance or higher production or climate resilience. And you have explained the important role that a university can have in collaborating with a TVET college and the development of a value chain that is beneficial both to the farmers and to the institution. And I think you have used the potato seed project to explain this extremely well, and even to create employment for graduates of Baraka Agricultural College. At this point, I want to invite the next presenter. It is 11 minutes past 5 here in Kenya, and I want to invite Samuel Mungee, the Director of Plotters Technologies in Njoro, Kenya, to talk about innovating with TVET students and creating jobs, evidence from Youth Venture Enterprise. Karibu, Samuel. Is Samuel here?
Yes, Samuel is on, except that I think check your plugs. We can't hear you. We can see you're speaking, but we can't hear you.
Okay, I don't know what has happened because my camera.
No. We can't hear Samuel. He's actually speaking.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We are not hearing. I'm not hearing him.
And meanwhile, Virginia, make sure you are reading the chat box so that you take down issues that need you to address when we give you an opportunity. Samuel, are you able to be?
Yeah, I am here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, okay.
So
my name is
you have 15 minutes.
Samuel. Okay.
Start.
My name is Samuel Mungee. I'm the CEO and founder of Plotters Technology here in Kenya. And I'll be presenting on how we innovate with the youth at our local vocational training college called Njoro Polytechnic. So about us, so as I said earlier, Plotters Technology is Plotters Technology is located in Njoro, Nakuru, Kenya. We are a teaching factory. By teaching factory, I mean that we have partnered with a local vocational training college, where the training college gives us a facility, a space where we can manufacture our products, and in return, be able to give training to students. By training, I mean we do a lot of practical, give them practical, which is examinable by the National Industrial Training Authority, which is an examination body in Kenya. So with the help of Ruforum and the county government of Nakuru, we have been able to set a factory which is now in production. Apparently, we have products already which we are producing, which I'm going to present to you. And all these products have been developed with the students of the institutions. Apparently, we have a team of engineers who are graduate engineers from our local universities. And now with our guidance and help from the students, we're able to develop models together. This helps them to think critically, develop products, and they're also able to use state-of-the-kind machineries which we provide. The machineries are for the company. They're able to use our machines to develop products together with us. Some of these machines we sell. For example, we have sold over 100 units of an incubator. I'm going to show you. It helps us generate revenue. And in return, we even sponsor some students, and we also employ other students. So I'm going to briefly talk about the products that we have developed together with the students. So this is a Malkia incubator. It's an automatic incubator and brooder. The brooder, this is a patent pending product that can brood chicks automatically and also hatch eggs. By brooding, it takes care of your chicks for a period of 1 month by providing automatic temperature control, humidity for the chicks, water feeding, removal of waste, everything. We also have it can also do automatic incubation. This product undergoes several processes in its manufacturing. It undergoes sheet metal work, computers, programming, electronics, and all this work is done in collaboration with the students at the vocational training. It is our main product currently, and is a product that is in the market already, as I've told you, sold over 100 units within the period of the past 6 months. We have a Jumbo Cut CNC machine. This is we also trying to bring state-of-the-art manufacturing in our VTC. So, for example, this is a computer-controlled machine. It's a prototype. It's a machine that can take a drawing from a computer and convert that drawing into a physical object. This machine has been made from first principles from our vocational training college. It involves a lot of course, metalworking, sheet metalworking, programming, electronics, electricity, and it also brings the sense of technology, latest technology to our VTCs. We, as a company, we advocate our youth to use the latest technologies in their manufacturing processes. So the next product is a nanotap. The next product is a nanotap. In my county, which is Kenya, we have a big problem of water. Water in our area has a lot of silt has a lot of fluorides and it's not conducive for drinking, and it's what most locals consume. And as a vocational training college and also institution with our company, we're able to develop a water filtration purification system. The students are able to do activities like plumbing, designing this system using nanofiltration technology. As I've told you, these are very new technologies we are trying to bring in our local communities. For example, these units are we are making these units to be installed in water outlets, our local water outlets. And as you can see, the whole design has been made by the students. Apparently, they have done a lot of planning and design of this system by themselves. So it allows them to think ahead and apply the knowledge in designing systems that help the community. We also have another product which we have made. It's what we call a Tawaza multi-vegetable cutter. It can do slicing, cutting, dicing of vegetables. We have made this product from first principles. It involves a lot of plastics. Some of the parts we have 3D printed. As I've said, at our vocational training college, we have a 3D printer which we are able to make parts with. As I've said, this machine, we have made it to be used in our institution because cutting is done by hand. We do slicing of vegetables by hand, which takes around 3 hours to make food for the institutions. So as a challenge, we encourage students to think, and we designed a system that a machine that can do slicing of our local vegetables. As I've said, this is a machine that can also be sold outside there and also create skills in our institution. I'm going just to show you a very sneak preview of how the machine does. What is the vegetable cutting machine? As you have seen, we are using plastics and to make like the vegetable cutting machine. So we looked, we also had the other machine for a nanotap, which was for altering, for filtration and purification of water. It's also using plastics. So we went a step further and saw that our community has a problem of, we have a lot of plastic waste. So we said we are going to make the two machines from waste plastic. So we encourage the students to design a plastic extruder machine that will be converting the waste plastics into the shapes that I've shown you. So this machine will be using waste plastics, and with this machine, we'll now be able to manufacture the vegetable cutting machine and the nanotap filtration and parts of the incubator machine for chicken using waste plastic. So you're calling it a Rafiki plastic extruder. So that is how we bring all those concepts together: 3D printing, we bring metal processing, plumbing into the institution, and train the students on how to achieve and solve problems in our society. So our training model is that we train plumbing, technology, sheet metalwork, metal fabrication, electricity, and electronics. Training involves using our modernized machines and methods. We use latest methods of manufacturing, of programming, and these methods are also passed down to the students. We also do evaluation of the learners' ability. They are able, and after that, the learners go for another certification program by the National Industrial Training Authority. And once they are certified, they can go start their own businesses. We have programs in our country, Kenya, where the youth who have graduated from our institution are given, for example, the students who are doing sheet metal work, I go to their metal fabrication. The government gives them a welding machine and a grinder. So immediately they leave our workshop, they go start their own enterprises. So far we have trained over 60 students, and these 60 students have gotten skills in, as I said earlier, in plumbing technology, sheet metal work, metal fabrication, and everything. And so I have the pictures of our workshop, the training factory, and how we do production of some parts. As you see, we are doing this production of our incubator, which we involve so many processes, including drilling, welding, cutting. This is our workshop doing cutting, welding technologies. So the impact is that we have had over 60 students who have been technically skilled, and we also employ the best students. So far, we have employed 4 former students, full employed, salaried, and we have others who are also on internship. The students who are good, we pay them as a method of encouraging them to work harder, think smarter. Some of the students have started their own enterprises. I will show you an example of a student who we trained and is doing very well, started his own enterprises. Some students have also been enterprises.
Next time you will get.
Mute yourselves. Mute yourselves. There's somebody interfering. Okay.
Student enrollment has also increased. As I told you, this is
you have 1 minute, Samuel, to complete.
Yeah. As I told you earlier, this is a local vocational training. So we saw the increase in enrollment by over 75% after partnering with the institution, which is a good indicator that the society does like what we are doing. So that is the student who started his own enterprise. This photo was taken today. Apparently, he's doing some work also on making doors for the community. So much.
Okay, thank you. I'm assuming you are finished.
Yeah, finished. Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, thank you, Samuel, for that very innovative way in which you are working with the training colleges to create opportunities both for yourself and for the students to acquire new skills in a very practical way. I think this is the way that we need to go as Africa, so that we can transform the TVET sector. I think you have put it very well. We have looked at your products. I will invite 1 or 2 comments as you read the chat board so that you can respond. I think there has been questions in terms of your contact and the prices of your products, maybe, and any other issues that you want to raise. Please look at them as I give opportunities to 2 or 3 people who want to make a comment. Please keep your comments short. Who would like to go? Please mute your microphones if you are not speaking.
I have one.
So who would like to go? None. So let's then go back and ask Virginia to respond to any issues that she may want to respond to. You have 2 minutes, Virginia.
Yeah. So
thank you very much. I want to say that the students of TVET are also able to be self-employed based on the skills that they get, the competence-based skills. So training in TVET is very encouraging because in due course, there will be employers as well. So I am encouraging a lot of collaboration of universities and TVETs so that they can gain to assist more students who don't qualify to get into these higher institutions of learning, but they can come to TVETs and learn. And I want to say that in our system today, especially in Kenya, there are no failures. There are no failures at all. Those who are talented, they go to research and innovate in the universities. And those who can take on hands-on skills will come to TVET and we complement each other. Thank you.
Joma, can you unmute your microphone?
Yes, I was saying, Samuel, you have 1 minute to respond to any issues. I see you have provided your contact. Any other issues that you want to respond to, Samuel? 1 minute.
So I think we really need to rebrand our TVETs on our VTC. The idea around our community is that VTCs for the students who are not so good in class, we call them, the society has rejected them. So we find that mentality in our institutions, in our VTCs. They are mostly are labeled as failures, but we are able to get a lot of innovativeness, creativeness from them. See, it's something we really need to rebrand. And from my evidence is that a lot can be done in our VTCs.
Thank you, Samuel, and thank you, Virginia, for sharing with us those very practical ways in which TVET can transform both society and the students. I now want to invite the last three speakers, and you'll be given 10 minutes. So we'll be very strict because please make sure you complete your presentations within 10 minutes so that we are able to complete this in time. I want to start with Kelvin Lulay, principal of Kalasa Agricultural College in Uganda, who will be talking about needed reforms and actions for attracting the youth to TVET skills. It is 5:31. You have 10 minutes, Kelvin.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Forum for this opportunity. My name is Kelvin Lulay, and I work at Kalasa Agricultural College. It's one of the oldest colleges or institutions in Uganda, and it teaches mainly. We are focusing on skills in agriculture, skills in animal husbandry, skills in human nutrition. Recently, in 2015, we partnered with the Ministry of Education and started a Skilling Uganda program where we are going through a number of reforms that would lead to improvement in our TVET systems in Uganda. And today, as I am talking, Kalasa Agricultural College is identified as one of the centers of excellence in agricultural training, together with the other institutions in other areas of training. But specifically today, I want to look at the needed reforms and actions for attracting youth for TVET for skills, and looking at my experience as the Kalasa Agricultural College. I know we have been talking a lot about attractiveness of TVET, and since this afternoon, that's what we have been talking about. And one of the key issues that have been talked about is the mindset on TVET, especially people have been talking about it historically. And this is actually one of the key things about TVET, really the mindset of the trainees themselves and the mindset of the guardians and the parents is still, there is still a feeling that selecting a TVET is a second rate to a university, and perhaps when you fail to advance for other maybe courses. Luckily enough for us as Kalasa Agricultural College, we have been around for quite a long time, and nationally at least we are recognized as a very reputable agricultural training institution. Therefore, our attractiveness to the people or to the trainees coming to the college has not been that bad, but there are so many institutions that we have a total population about we want to bring out as one of the key things that really are affecting attractiveness of students to TVET. One of them is actually the cost of TVET itself. If you look at the curricula of TVET and the requirements needed for the hands-on training and the type of processes the one goes through, it is quite a very heavy cost, especially on the side of the people involved. And that other part of the mindset, I think people have talked about it as far as marketing of the TVET is concerned, so I will not talk much about it. But the issue of the campuses where we have our trainees congregated is also very, very important. If a TVET institution does not have the look that will attract the trainees, I'm very, very happy with the current presentation where we are seeing a number of products coming out of the institution. This is what the learners or the trainees want to see. They want to be able to associate with something that is progressive, something that is productive. A TVET must showcase what they train, what products comes out of it. And therefore, the campus must talk, the products must talk. We don't want to see where the graduate going out and the one who is being enrolled at the same level of skills. And this can easily be seen by those who are involved in who want to join the TVET. Then we talk about, if we talk about attractiveness, then we also have to talk about the quality of instruction. What is the quality of the instructors? You know, if we are talking about TVET, I am aware that some countries have really gone a little bit further in ensuring that they have quality instructors. But some institutions, if your instructors are still very theoretical, you are going to have a lot of challenges where the instructor does not match with the industry skills. Then definitely when the students or when the products go out of your institution and they do not match, they definitely will not see any people, anybody enrolling to your institutions. And when we talk of now, especially the gender, if we want to see female recruits coming in, we have to have facilities that are really attractive, especially to the female candidates. If your institution does not provide a safe environment, for example, to the female or the girl child, the benefactors, the guardians, will not be in position, will not really feel comfortable enrolling their children with you. So you need to at least make sure that you have very good facilities. and you also have to select your trainers very, very well. When it comes now to the national outlook, your trainers, we are going, most of our trainees, most of our products, we now target for the private sector. But even the public sector should be able to appreciate and acknowledge the TVET products and also make a slot for their employment within the public sector. I will have talked about
It seems like we lost you, Kelvin. Are you still there? Kelvin? Kelvin, are you still there? It seems like we cannot hear you, but your time is up anyhow. So I would like to invite the next presenter, but you have raised important issues about the quality of our training institutions, so that we don't just have beautiful gates, but we really have equipment, modern, that is able to train people on modern skills. And the idea of good trainers, I've gone to TVET institutions where the teachers cannot even do some of the things that they are teaching students. You have somebody teaching masonry that is not even able to construct a wall. So really let's pay attention to the quality of our trainers. You go to colleges, sometimes you find trainers that are drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning. So you're not sure how to even engage with those kind of trainers. So really, we must, I think the word that is coming out is, if we want TVET to succeed in Africa, we must go beyond the talk and really invest money, equipment, teachers, so that we are able to move forward. With this, I want to move on to the next presenter, Martin Maku from Agriculture, Agribusiness and Forestry. You have 10 minutes.
Yes, thank you so much, the moderator. My name is Maku Martin. As you have said, I am here for Private Sector Foundation Uganda, and the Private Sector Foundation Uganda is Uganda's apex body, having over 270 associations and corporate bodies and those from government that support private sector. Now, I want to say that I really appreciate the opportunity you have given Private Sector Foundation to make a presentation in such a forum, because it is able to give us a big audience to know what we do. Sanford, a little bit, my cursor is not moving a little. You'll allow me to present in a mode that is not a presentation. But then I want to talk about, to say that first of all, the private sector is the leading employer. Statistics show that it contributes to over 90%, 80% to the country's GDP, and it employs over 90% in both formal and informal sector. And eventually, informal sector or the private sector is driven by profitability. Profitability is the motivation for existence of private sector. And what they need most is the skills. What we are talking about, the TVET skills. They are soft skills, and then there are hard skills or technical skills. And in most cases, most employers want they want skills which can help them to earn. And our institutions, in most cases, they prepare students with technical skills, but then they do not prepare them for sometimes soft skills, the skills that can help you to go through. Skills like, say, discipline. It is seen as a punishment in schools. Effective communication, time management, something that one person brought out properly. Actually, they normally say that the education that we study only helps us to be shortlisted, but the rest of the things, once you are shortlisted, you survive in the job world by the soft skills and of course your technical skills. Now, I want to shortly talk about what private sector is doing. Private sector is doing a project called Skills Development Facility, basically meant to enhance skills in the country in different sectors, the formal and informal, those in construction and those out of construction, those in the companies which are having a challenge of employability, and among others. So what they are doing is I should say that the TVETs in our country, like many people are presented, they have a lot of challenges. Among the challenges is they don't have infrastructure. Some instructors are also having a challenge that they have outdated notes. They have got to be updated. And then we also have heavy capital, and yet the government funds very little. One of the presenters here said that the government, in most cases, funds between 0.something%, less than 10, a very small percentage to the TVET. And yet we are saying, yet we have seen that all the economies in the world which are strong enough have gained their strength simply because of the TVET. And as private sector foundation, through the government of Uganda and World Bank, we were supported to implement this skills development facility, a project that started in 2016 and is ending in 21 December. But the idea was to see how can it help? Where are the skills which are missing? Where is the problem? So that possibly the government can intervene, possibly development partners like African Development Bank was here saying clearly that they are ready to work with us. And we are saying that sincerely, the challenge is skills, and so far, the people who have been able to benefit from this project, they have all testified how they have all showed how much it has helped them. For example, something that we have been working a lot with the TVETs is the internship in the formal sector and then the apprenticeship in the informal sector. And the results we have so far show that over 72% of people who have finished, they have been able to get jobs simply because they are getting training exactly. They are being spoken to by facilitators on what they want, what they are supposed to do, and where they should be. And this has helped also, it has inspired many. For example, out of the people we have reached, 11% have been able to start their own businesses. They have inspired so many, and this eventually helps us because it is showing that the country is going in a different direction, and together with the development partners, we want to say that this is a place to fund in. This project was a pioneer project to see if we did something like this, can't we start to make more noise to more developing partners to come and help us support this through this organization? And of course, through also the Young Africa Works, we have a project with the MasterCard where the idea is to create over 3 million jobs to the women, to the men, to the females about 30%, and then the young men about the female is 70% and the male is 30%. And this is we are trying to implement what we call the lead farm structure. This is where we see that there are a lot of jobs which are lying alone, but the problem is that how we are organized. There's no clear organization. For example, we are talking about the coffee. The coffee sector or the coffee value chain is one of the chains which is somehow organized, but statistics show us that only we are only supplying to only 1.6% of the market share. And we are believing that maybe with the bill which has been passed, we shall maybe surpass what we are expecting. Yesterday, we were in a meeting together with Maif on the issue of the horticulture in Uganda. And there is completely the chain is completely not there. Everyone is organized. You find that the products in Europe are being tossed here and there, but the problem is the value chain development. So through the support of MasterCard Foundation and maybe other supporters which are going to come to help us, we have got to develop value chains. When we develop value chains, the agriculture trainees or those who have graduated from Kalasa, from others, will be able to fit in properly, and this will be able to help us. So for us, as private sector foundation, we are very open to work with people to see that we are able to grow the economy. And since we are the apex body dealing with so many organizations, we believe that together we can shape these TVETs. They are learning the hard skills, they are learning the technical skills from there, but yet they are unable to do some things which can be implemented, which can be helped in by the private sector. And of course, all this can also be done through the private-public partnership, whereby what can't be done by the government is done by the private sector. And then through like that, we are living in we need to live in a mutual kind of relationship. This is what I would have presented. It's unfortunate that I was unable to share my PowerPoint presentation because of a technical problem, but that is a perspective from Private Sector Foundation Uganda. I thank you very much, moderator.
Thank you very much, Martin, for that intervention. Private sector. As you know, as Africa, we have a long way to go in the private sector system, the work that you have given us today. The role of private sector in these issues. Again, that's where a lot of our young people and people from the TVET are working. We need to get more people working in good working environments and working conditions. So why it's good in Kenya, and we want to listen to
Dr. Mukwana, I think you can mute your mic, your video.
Gurus of TVET, Richard Hawking.
Yes, thank you. I hope you can hear me. You were breaking up a little bit.
Sorry?
Is it okay? You can all hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Very clear.
I would like to first...
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. I would like to thank the people who are still here listening to this last session of the day. Perhaps then I can share my screen and I hope can pick up the presentation on this one, I believe. And if I can just view my presenter. Sorry, I don't want that one. I wanted the other one. You can see it?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, good. What I want to do quickly is try to summarize the findings of a study we did last year on TVET in Africa. The link is there. We will provide.
Yes, Richard, we can see your presentation. Please proceed.
You're okay, good. Then as I say, I want to just give quickly the main outcomes of a study we did last year on agricultural, tertiary and vocational education training in Africa. The link to the full report is there. I'm sure afterwards we can share this presentation, or if anybody needs the full. Yep. Okay, you can.
Cutting.
Pardon, am I clear to you? Can you hear me?
Hawkins, you're clear from my side. I think Dr. Juma has a network connectivity shortly, the last 5 minutes.
Okay, good. I will continue then. Just to say that this study was sponsored by the Food and Business Knowledge Platform, and particularly with the support of Frans Verbern, who is listening in this afternoon, so I will thank him, together with NUFIC, a Dutch organization which has been supporting TVET development in Africa, particularly in the food sector, food and agriculture sector, together with RUFORM and Wageningen University. If I can move. Okay, the study was based on 3 levels of literature review, because this was in the time of COVID. So I spent most of my COVID days working on this study. There was a review at the regional level of TVET and agricultural TVET in Africa. Then we looked at 6 particular countries in sub-Saharan Africa: Benin, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, and also for comparison to look at the situation, the equivalent situation in the Netherlands. We also looked at 9 commissioned case studies to illustrate the challenges and successes of individual ATVET institutes from those 6 countries mentioned. And what I want to do is very quickly focus on the conclusions, and the conclusions in the sense of what are the opportunities for international support. As this was a Dutch study, then some of the conclusions are slanted or oriented towards what the Netherlands can do in terms of supporting TVET, ATVET in Africa. Many of these conclusions from the study, have already been mentioned this afternoon by several of the presenters, particularly by Hendrina and Rita and Eusebius himself. I think I've gone through we've already covered many of these. I will quickly go through them because I want to focus on the last point. What we noted in the report was that there has been considerable policy development and reforms in the TVET sector and in agricultural TVET in nearly all countries, and that is a starting point. I think, when we support from the outside, from Europe or wherever, external support, we should support the national policy development reforms which are underway. Perhaps we don't need to say that, but in many cases, I think it's good to mention it. Secondly, we've heard about CBET, competency-based education and training. I would say that there are subtle differences in the way that different countries and different people even look at what is exactly competency-based education in training. So I think there needs to be a bit more of a regional or continent-wide consensus on this, and leading into how we can best develop instructors in delivering and developing CBET curriculum. We already heard about the need to improve linkages with the sector, with the agricultural sector, and I think one of the ways in which many countries are focusing on this is through working groups and skills councils, etc. We also have heard earlier about, we haven't heard so much about occupational standards, but one thing I think is that, again, as part of the differences in opinion in competency-based education and training, there's also subtle differences in the sort of occupational standards that should be developed. Some donors, for example, focus very much on occupational standards oriented around particular value chains. Others have a much more broader view of how to develop occupational standards. So there are subtle differences between countries, but also between the ways in which us as European countries or different external development partners are pushing, if we like. So I think we need a bit more of a consensus between us outsiders in terms of developing occupational standards. We've already, I think Eusebius has mentioned, and others have mentioned, national qualification frameworks and how we can develop academic pathways that link or at least do not cause too many problems in terms of the one's progression through TVET and university education and others. And I think, of course, the sort of university TVET linkages that we heard from was it earlier from Baraka, I think are very important. We've heard a lot this afternoon about the attractiveness of ATVET, agricultural TVET, which is a bit of a double whammy because TVET is not very attractive in agriculture, and nor is agriculture as a career very attractive to Africans. And not only that, it's not that very attractive to Europeans either. There's also a low opinion of TVET and agricultural TVET in our countries as well as yours, I would say. The last 3 points are perhaps a little bit oriented more towards the way in which the Dutch have been supporting TVET, ATVET in Africa. I come at these, many of these conclusions, and much of my thinking is colored by my own involvement in TVET projects which have been supported by the Dutch and in particular by NUFIC. But also, I mean, many external development partners, such as the Netherlands, have put considerable emphasis in value chain projects and spent a lot of money in developing particular value chains in particular countries. But I think it's quite remarkable is that the sort of support that the Netherlands gives to strengthening TVET is somehow separated from these, what I call value chain projects. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for linking these projects to support colleges and to support ATVET and to support practical experience, etc. Also, I think there are opportunities for competitive funding for skills development, not only by the the formal educational sector, but also in terms of skills development and less formal skills development through the private sector, through NGOs and through farmer organizations, etc. So some sort of competitive funding mechanism for skills development in these countries, I think, would be very valuable. The next point, I think I recognize what Martin was saying about the importance of the private sector for skills development. And of course, we, or in the Netherlands, all the projects tend to focus very much on strengthening the colleges in terms of producing graduates which are relevant to the labor market. But one study struck me in particular was in a part of Ethiopia was that only 4% of the graduates from a particular or from certain agricultural colleges actually went into what is paid employment by the private sector. So that still leaves 96% of the TVET graduates which are not going into paid employment. So we need to think of a slightly wider concept of the private sector to include very much entrepreneurship and setting up one's own business, as we've heard from both, I think it was from Joel and also from earlier on from the case studies in Uganda from Basil, I think were extremely important. We should be thinking of that type of employment, or sorry, graduate destinations, as it were. So we need to have a good concept of what it is that these graduates from our schools are going to do. Lastly, I would say in terms of these first 10 recommendations is that particularly in the pandemic, I think has emphasized the need to develop blended learning platforms. Now, we have a project in East Africa to develop and diffuse a blended learning platform, for example, in dairy TVET. With 10 TVETs, we are working in East Africa, and I think it shows a lot of promise. And I think that's one area where particularly different countries can get together and develop regional blended learning platforms, which can help this move towards online. Although there's a big we all realize that there are great difficulties in often having the equipment and the online access that is needed. I mean, some countries are better off than others, but the pandemic has showed us, or has at least accelerated this move towards online and I think blended learning, which I do believe can also be very valid for TVETs. Now, the one point I wanted to really focus on this afternoon was that, to my way of thinking, many of these, attention to these points can be supported through international networking, or let's say regional networking across Africa in TVET. Over the years, I mean, I've been very impressed with the work that RUFORM has done with universities. And it struck me that what we are really lacking is the sort of exchange and learning from each other, this South-South learning in TVET experience. Many of these points, I think, can be best developed by sharing our experience, learning from each other, because in most of these, there are good experiences in countries on nearly all of these points, and we can all learn from these good experiences and good practice. So I think what I believe is that some sort of international networking effort would certainly give big dividends in terms of improving the TVET sector. Again, I refer back to my experience with NUFIC, which is very much, the projects are very much between particular institutes in the Netherlands and particular institutes in the South. And I don't believe that they result in enough South-South learning, even enough North-North learning, because the implementers of these projects tend not to focus, they tend to focus on the project themselves, but do not share their experience widely, even in the Netherlands, let alone in the South. So my question to all those who are listening still is that, do you think that international networking, along the lines which RUFORM has supported until now, university education, do you think that international networking in the TVET sector is a good idea? And so I would ask you to put in the chat, answer 2 questions so that we can get as broad a feedback from everybody as possible, so that everybody can put into the chat. Then we will, afterwards, we can look at all the answers. But the first question is, do you think that this some sort of Africa-wide networking in TVET is really something which we should consider to be very important in terms of supporting you as development partners from other countries? Or do you believe that it is, yes, it's okay, it's something, but there are other ways in which we can support the TVET sector? Or do you think it's not important? So can I ask everybody just to quickly write in the chat whether you think it's very important, somewhat important, or not very important to establish a sort of international networking project, if you like, or international networking platform analogous to what RUFORM is doing so far for universities, although we know that RUFORM is interested in TVET. So can I ask you all to quickly just write very important, somewhat important, or not important in the chat? If everybody writes an answer, then we have 75 different views, which I think will be extremely valuable to us. I would really love to get everybody's quick reaction. So 75. I see that most people so far are thinking along the same lines that I am. I don't know how much.
What did you want us to do?
Just please write in the chat whether you think regional networking in TVET, because I don't think there's a lot of exchange between different TVET, between different countries and different TVET institutions. I do not see a lot of sharing going on. This seminar, this webinar this afternoon, I think is extremely important and extremely, in a way, illustrative of how we can learn from each other. But the question is, do we do enough of it? So would it be a good idea to set up a special platform to support international networking on TVET, to share learning and experiences in TVET so that we can learn more from each other on a South-South basis? Okay, a lot of people have now answered, and I see that most people says it's very important. Then I would, what the second question, and bear with me, Mr. Moderator, Eusebius, please, just one more question. Who do you think could play a role in this? Now, I'm aware, of course, that RUFORM is very important, but there are other networks which are doing a little bit of this. For example, the FAR network, particularly in the Francophone West Africa. There are, as I understand, TVET networks at a global level, but as far as I know, there is no specialized agricultural TVET network. So if you have suggestions about organizations that could either support through funding or support through involvement in such a network, please just add into the chat organizations which you think could be involved, either as an implementing agency, as a supporting agency, or as a funding agency. So just put in some ideas. This is a brainstorming. Please just jot in the chat who you think could be involved in such a networking, TVET networking, Africa-wide ATVET. Yep. That's interesting. I see already a couple of people mentioning NUFIC as funding. I'm focusing on agricultural TVET because I think TVET broadly is a very broad subject. I would really like to focus on agricultural TVET, which I think has some special challenges, and it also has some special opportunities. And I think if we make it too broad, then it won't. It will be too unfocused. That's my personal opinion. But you are welcome to also comment on that. There's some very good ideas coming forward. I think this is nice. This is wonderful. I'm hoping, Anthony, we will keep a copy of this, this chat somewhere, so we don't want to lose all these good ideas. This is great. In 5 minutes or so, we've got some wonderful feedback. Good. Please continue if you haven't already jotted down your ideas, but I think at that point, Eusebius, I will hand back to you. But please keep writing your ideas down, and then we will certainly consolidate these. And I think it will be very valuable, at least to organizations in the Netherlands, to see these opinions about the importance and who could possibly be involved. Thank you very much. Can I hand back to Juma?
Yes, thank you, Richard. What a good way to end all this, because I think in many ways then we are not just discussing about the challenges and opportunities, and you can see we've shared quite some rich experiences in this little forum that we had today. And I think what you have brought on board is very important, that instead of sharing and disappearing to our different workplaces, that we could actually have a formalized way in which we can continue to engage on issues of TVET. And what you raise is important, because yesterday I was at a forum where we were looking at East Africa, for example, and we found that universities are very well catered for within the Inter-University Council of East Africa. But when you think about, actually we're thinking small, because we're thinking about the East African region. And one of the issues that we're saying is we do not have a network, an institution that brings together TVET institutions within East Africa. So you are even widening more, thinking about Africa. But you have raised important issues that are important for the participants in the room. One is that TVET has been neglected for a long time, and for us to move forward, we all appreciate the importance of TVET, and we will only make progress when we invest in policies and reforms at the national level. And for us to benefit from these policies and reforms, we have countries that have already made good progress. Coming from Kenya, I know that we have had new laws, new standards, new frameworks that are beneficial to the rest of of the continent. And therefore, one of the things that we need to look at is how to address the issues of reforms at the national level. The other issue that you have brought in that is very important is the issue of blended learning. And the experience we've learned in Kenya is that not every college, not every institution has the capacity to implement online teaching or develop content for online teaching. So one of the areas that we are exploring within Kenya is to have a centralized development of training content for online teaching in one place, but with the participation of all the colleges across the country. So if we are developing content on welding, we are developing content on dairy management, on mastitis testing, that you have content that then can be shared across. We all develop it, we have same expertise, the same quality, and then we share the material. The other issue that we have brought in very well is the issue of qualification frameworks. That part of the challenge that we face with the TVET is that students find a lot of roadblocks and bottlenecks and broken paths. So they find it a bit difficult to engage with TVET because then it's not clear how you will exit to other systems. And I think that is very important. And the last issue I think that has come out of your presentation is the issue of networking. I think that there is a lot of success. There are little islands of success in each of our countries, but then these little islands of success are not being shared enough to make a difference. And so part of what we are looking for is how do you network so that these little islands of success can be expanded to have greater impact in different and larger jurisdictions within the continent. It is 6:15. I know that we've already had quite some engagement with Richard, but if there are any burning issues, please put them on the chat. And also, I will welcome 3 hands for burning issues, especially as regards the 3 presentations that we've had for this last session. Who wants to go? Okay, it seems like we are already tired. I know we started 153 of us. Now we are only 61. I don't see any hands. And so I assume that we have had a good and successful day. I really want to thank all of you from across Africa, Nigeria, all the way to South Africa, Ethiopia, for participating in this webinar. I think it has been a good eye-opener. It has raised the issues. It has not just raised the challenges, but it has also raised opportunities that exist and also given us some solutions on the way forward. And so without much ado, I will now want to turn back to Anthony. Thank you so much for participating. This was an important forum. It has brought us up to speed on the issues of TVET within the continent. I want to thank Roof Forum for giving us this opportunity. And please, I think we need a bit more of this. I can see that there are lots of issues. There's need for more sharing. And I think Richard's suggestion is extremely timely. So Anthony, back to you for closing remarks so that we can end this. And I thank you, all the participants. I thank the presenters and all of you who have participated today. Anthony.
Juma, thank you very much. I think for the closing remarks, I would like to hand it over to Florence. Dr. Florence Nakayiwa.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. You know, that name always intrigues me. Thank you very much for a very good moderation. And I want to thank everybody who has come on behalf of Blue Forum. Richard, that was quite something. So getting those ideas from us is quite something, and it is something that we need to follow up. I think this was a very timely event, and I'm sure we will have many more like this. And if we call on you, please do come so that we take our continent forward. We need to get those ideas. I want to thank all the presenters that have come to this discussion. We have learned a lot. I did come in a little bit late, but I did see the things that have happened in that Samuel was talking about, that Virginia was talking about, even the discussions we've had in this last session. It's such a rich engagement. We pledge that we are going to continue with this engagement. It is just a start of the process. We will take this forward. We'll have more discussions, but I want to thank you all participants. I want to thank all the presenters. I want to thank our moderator, and I want to thank everybody that has come. We did also have interpreters in Arabic and French. Thank you very much for the interpretation, and thank you for persevering. As Onesba said, we were here 158, now we are 57. So do have a blessed evening. You'll hear from us, and the meeting has been recorded. Please join us also in the other triennial events. We do have it out there on our website. Please do join us. We have very many more exciting events. I want to thank you very much on behalf of the Roof Forum Secretariat and Professor Paula Adekwam. Thank you also, Anthony, who put this all together. Thank you very much.